The meteorite that changed the course of Christianity, Abruzzo, central Italy. About 100 kilometers from Rome, in the mountains, there is a round lake called Sirente, about 140 meters in diameter. Geologists believe it is a crater formed by a meteorite impact. Radiocarbon dating of charred wood from the ejecta gives a date of around 312 AD. This is the time of Constantine's battle at the Milvian Bridge. Swedish researcher Jens Ormö suggested a simple explanation. A bright fireball and a mushroom-shaped dust cloud could have looked like a shining sign in the sky. Eusebius of Caesarea describes the vision of the cross and the light, after which Constantine ordered the symbol to be placed on the shields and won. Calculations give an energy of about 1 kiloton, comparable to a small nuclear warhead. The flash was visible from very far away. In archaeology nearby, there are indirect traces. A village abandoned in the 4th century mass burials in catacombs. Local legends about a sun star that split oaks. There is no direct evidence connecting the meteorite to Constantine's vision. It's just a hypothesis, but the timing and visibility make it highly remarkable. A natural event may have prompted the decision to legalize Christianity across the Roman Empire. The Shroud of Turin and its connection to UFOs. This mysterious Christian relic attracts interest not only among religious communities, but also among paranormal researchers and ufologists. This 4-meter linen cloth contains the imprint of a human body, presumably crucified, which, according to tradition, is associated with Jesus Christ. The relic is kept in the Turin Cathedral and sparks endless debates about its authenticity. From a scientific point of view, radiocarbon analysis indicates its medieval origin, but there is a theory linking it to divine or even extraterrestrial intervention. The uniqueness of the image on the shroud is hard to explain. It was not painted with a brush, but looks like an imprint resembling a photographic negative, which is incredible for the technology of that time. The connection with UFOs and extraterrestrial theories arises from the hypothesis that the shroud could have been the product of highly advanced technology. Ufologists claim that the process of creating this imprint could have been associated with a release of powerful energy or a light pulse, similar to modern laser technologies. Some believe that the resurrection of Jesus, accompanied by a miraculous event, could have been the result of intervention by extraterrestrial civilizations that shared their knowledge with humanity. However, these are just theories. Crystal skulls. In the antique shops of Paris at the end of the 19th century, perfectly polished skulls made from solid rock, crystal, appeared. There were no records of excavations, only mysterious sellers who claimed that these were Maya relics, capable of singing under the moonlight and opening doors to other worlds. The legend quickly became surrounded by details. It was said that there are exactly 13 such skulls, and that together they project a map of the stars or hold messages about vanished celestial mentors. Mediums claim the crystal resonates with brainwaves, decoding ancient wisdom, while modern elite crystal therapists sold activation sessions at the price of a piece of jewelry. When, in the 1990s, the British Museum and the Smithsonian Institution examined the most famous skulls with a scanning electron microscope, the surface revealed characteristic traces of a rotating tool with a diamond coating. Such a tool would only appear after the 1860s. Moreover, the quartz structures lack internal cracks that would inevitably occur with hand polishing using sand. This means the artifact was almost certainly made with a modern machine. But one skull, supposedly found in Belize before the wave of mass forgeries, still confuses the experts. There is neither a purchase receipt nor an archaeological protocol, only stories from previous owners. They claim the crystal was polished for centuries, using water drops, quartz dust, and Maya craftsmen's patience. Scientists are almost certain that they are looking at a later copy, but they still leave a small chance for the truth. What if this really is the work of ancient hands, and we just haven't figured out what tool was used to create it yet? The crucifixion of Christ in a ring, this incredible ring, dated to around 1620, is a true masterpiece of miniature art. Under the glass, there's a detailed scene of the crucifixion made out of ivory. Every figure, from the Roman soldiers to the spectators present at the execution, is carved with stunning precision. The tiny crosses and the figure on the cross especially draw attention, emphasizing the drama of the scene. It is believed that the ring was made in France or Spain, countries where religious art was highly developed during that period. It is possible that this piece of jewelry belonged to a high-ranking religious figure or a wealthy aristocrat, for whom it served not only as an ornament, but also as a symbol of faith. Such items were often used as personal relics, reminding their owners of the suffering and sacrifice of Christ. The mystical atmosphere of this artifact is enhanced by the question of how the craftsman managed to create such tiny details without modern tools. It was not only a specific art, but also an art that could have been granted from above. Archaeologists discovered the remains of an Armenian church almost 2,000 years old, making it one of the oldest in the world and the oldest on the territory of Armenia. The University of Münster in Germany, which cooperated with the Armenian Academy of Sciences during the excavations, called this discovery sensational evidence of early Christianity in Armenia. The church was found during excavations in Artashat, which was once a thriving metropolis and the capital of the ancient Armenian kingdom. Experts believe that the church was built in the 4th century AD at the same time when the Etchmiadzin Cathedral, the first Armenian church considered to be the oldest in the world, was built. The discovered building is the oldest archaeologically confirmed temple on the territory of Armenia. It is the first known octagonal church in Armenia. On the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea, and it also dates back to the 4th century, the church resembled early Christian memorial buildings. Its diameter was about 30 meters. The floor was made of a mixture of sand and cement, and the walls were made of terracotta, probably brought from Greece or Italy. Scientists also discovered traces of wooden platforms, which made it possible to accurately date the structure using radiocarbon analysis. The connection between ancient Egypt and the Bible. The Papyrus of Ipuwer, also known as the Admonitions of Ipuwer, is an ancient Egyptian text written on papyrus, which is currently kept in the Leiden Museum in the Netherlands. This document dates back to the end of the Middle Kingdom of Egypt, around 1800 before Christ, although the copy of the papyrus may have been created much later. The papyrus is written in the form of a poetic monologue, in which the narrator, Puver, describes the catastrophic disasters that struck Egypt. The text tells of social unrest, natural disasters, mass famine, and the destruction of public order, making it a unique source for understanding ancient Egyptian views on crisis and chaos. One of the mysteries of the papyrus and Puver is its possible connection to real historical events. Some researchers believe that the papyrus does not describe specific events, but rather offers a literary interpretation of general ideas about chaos and social disorder, characteristic of Egyptian thought. The papyrus is for decorative purposes. The content of the text has led to hypotheses that it may reflect a real historical upheaval, possibly related to the decline of the Middle Kingdom or other catastrophes. Interest in the papyrus of Ipuwer also arose because of parallels with the biblical plagues of Egypt described in the book of Exodus. Descriptions of blood turning the river red, darkness, and mass death resonate in both texts. Nevertheless, the exact connection between the papyrus of Ipuwer and the biblical events remains disputed, as there is no convincing evidence of a direct historical link. Communion set. During a research project by the National Archaeological Institute near Lake Tisa, a rare find was made: a silver communion set and a hoard of 70 silver coins. These artifacts were discovered at the site of the ruins of a Benedictine abbey, found in 2023. The silver set, consisting of a chalice and a wafer stand, dates back to the 14th century and was likely part of a burial. In addition, a hoard of 70 silver coins dating from the 13th to 14th centuries was found by volunteers during the excavation. These findings point to the region's rich history and its significance in the Middle Ages. Work continues in the Archaeometric Laboratory to analyze and restore these valuable discoveries. Artifacts dating from prehistoric times to the present day will help us gain a deeper understanding of the region's history and its role in historical events. Altai mummy, Altai burial mounds, Pazyryk. Thanks to the ice, the skin of a person about 2,500 years old has been preserved, along with nearly vanished tattoos on it. Scientists re-examined them, looked at the images under different lighting, studied the pigments, and reproduced the techniques on models. It turned out something unexpected. More than one hand worked on the tattoo. On the right hand, there are deer and big cats, drawn with the finest lines and accurate anatomy. This shows an experienced master's level, while the left hand's geometry is simpler and uneven. It's probably the work of an apprentice. This is the first convincing case where several artists' work is combined on one body. The pigment is ordinary soot, and the tools are a single needle for outlining and a comb, several needles on a bar for quickly making dots and shading. This combination explains the depth and texture of the lines under a microscope. The incisions made during mummification cut through the tattoos in some places, which means they weren't preserved for ritual purposes. The tattoos are part of everyday life, a sign of status, group affiliation, or personal symbols. The lines on the skin reveal the structure of an Iron Age community. There are masters, there are apprentices, and there is a demand for complex body ornamentation that was important during life, not after death. Diamond Needle Anabar. In the spring of 2014 at the Anabar Placer in northern Yakutia, Russia, a gold prospector noticed not an ordinary grain of sand in his pan, but a tiny transparent needle the length of a pinky fingernail. Diamonds almost always crystallize with facets, but here was a perfect cylinder without a single edge. The find was nicknamed the sewing needle of the dinosaur era. At the Yakutsk Institute, the sample was examined with laser spectroscopy and an electron microscope. It was confirmed to be a diamond, but on the surface they found an extremely thin film of nitride, titanium, and specks of cobalt. The protective layer used to coat artificial technical crystals grown by the chemical vapor deposition method allowed them to identify the source by the alloy's marking. In the late 1990s, the Yakutsk Research Institute made diamond thermocouple probes for measuring the temperature of steel in smelting ladles. During testing, the probe cracked and the fragment was sent to the dump. Spring floods gradually washed it into an ancient clay layer, and that's exactly where the prospector found it. Scientists quickly determined its true origin, but the story turned into a local legend, and every spring, gold diggers hope to find a similar artifact again. The Volgograd discs on the Medveditskaya Ridge in the Volgograd region. In Russia, known for its anomalous zones, mysterious stone discs have been discovered. The find consisted of 6 large round objects, the largest of which is up to 4 meters in diameter. Researchers claim that the structure of the discs is astonishing. Their composition includes tungsten, a rare refractory metal used in modern industry and space technology. Ufologists have suggested that these strange objects could be the remains of ancient spacecraft that fell to Earth thousands of years ago and eventually turned to stone. Such discoveries, resembling flying saucers, only fuel theories about ancient aliens visiting our planet. An alternative hypothesis explains the origin of the discs by natural processes of erosion and concretion. Geologists believe that the stone formations could have formed due to high pressure and mineral deposition over millions of years. However, the round shape and the presence of tungsten remain unexplained to this day. Frozen Beauty. The funerary mask of a young woman created by an unknown master of the Liu dynasty in 907-1125 demonstrates the highest level of metalworking skill of that time. Made of gilded bronze, this mask embodies an image of serenity and refined elegance. The Liu, who ruled in the northern part of China, were known for their innovations in craftsmanship, including adapting Chinese techniques into their own unique styles. This mask likely served as an important talisman, protecting the soul of the deceased woman on her journey to the afterlife. You can see delicate features in it, reflecting a portrait-like resemblance to the deceased, which makes it stand out among other cultural artifacts of that time. A special fastening under the chin, designed to be secured with silk clothing, suggests that the mask not only had aesthetic value but also served practical purposes in burial rituals. Mystics suggest that the masks could have carried information or energy connecting descendants with their ancestors. Some researchers claim that the distinctive style of rounded features may have been inspired by certain extraterrestrial visitors, especially considering the symbolism and sacred customs. The Liu crown, the oldest crown found to date, was discovered as part of a hoard on Shmara Hill in 1961 in the Judean desert near the Dead Sea. This remarkable hoard included more than 400 items dating back to the Copper Age. The crown, made of blackened copper, has a diameter of about 18 centimeters, and its upper edge is decorated with 5 figurines. Among them are 2 long-necked birds, stylized doors or gates, as well as a T-shaped object that may symbolize a sword hilt, along with the crown. The hoard also contained a scepter with images of horned animals, a copper-woven basket, and numerous ceramic vessels and bowls. Despite the majestic appearance of the crown, scholars do not believe it was worn by a ruler. Most likely, it was used in ritual ceremonies or burial rites. It remains a mystery how these treasures could have been stored in the cave for thousands of years, and this crown can be considered the first crown in the form we are familiar with today. The grave of the dwarf horses. French archaeologists discovered 9 large graves with the remains of 28 6-year-old stallions, buried on their right sides with their heads facing south, and 2 dogs buried with their heads facing southwest. These findings, dated by radiocarbon methods, belong to the end of the Roman conquest of Gaul and the beginning of the existence of the ancient Roman Empire between the 1st century before Christ and the 1st century AD. Experts are considering the theory that the animals may have been buried after dying in battle or during a complex ritual. The likelihood of death from disease is unlikely, since only adult males were found in the graves, and the remains are being checked for parasites. The graves were found in Ville-sur-Indre, in central France, where the foundations of ancient buildings, ditches, and a medieval road had previously been discovered. The first grave contained 10 complete horse skeletons, neatly arranged in 2 rows. A similar burial was found in 2002 in Puy-de-Dôme, where the remains of 8 warriors and their horses were discovered. A winged demon on an ancient seal. In Israel, a 2,700-year-old stone seal was found with an image of a winged figure and inscriptions in ancient Hebrew. Demons. The discovery was made near the southern wall of the Temple Mount and dates back to the period of the First Temple. The seal is made of black stone and is decorated with an inscription, which translates as, "For Yehuezer, son of Hoshayahu." Archaeologists noted that this is one of the most beautiful seals found in Jerusalem. The seal depicts a winged figure dressed in a striped shirt and a headdress. According to Assyriologist Dr. Philip Vukasavovich, such winged demons are found in Assyrian art from the 9th to 7th centuries before Christ and served as protective magical figures. The seal probably belonged to a high-ranking official of the Judean kingdom, served as an amulet and a symbol of authority, and it reflects not only Assyrian influence, but also the owner's connection to the local Judean culture. Books bound in human skin. In the 19th century in Europe and the United States, there was a rare but real practice of binding books in human skin. Experts call it anthropodermic bibliopagy, literally meaning a book bound in human skin. Most often the skin was taken from executed criminals or patients of anatomical theaters. 1837 Boston, United States of America. The bandit James Allen bequeathed that after his death his skin be removed and used to bind his own memoirs. On the cover, it is written in Latin, "This book is made from Allen's skin." 1830, Devon, England. The rat catcher George Cadmar poisoned his wife. After his execution, his skin was used to bind a collection of John Milton's poetry. 1882, France. A countess who died of tuberculosis bequeathed her skin to the astronomer fan Camille Flammarion to use for the first copy of his book Terre du Ciel, and now about entire collections. Harvard Library in the United States has at least 3 such bound volumes. One 17th century treatise contains a note about Yonessa Wright, whose skin was removed on August 4, 1632. The John Hay Library in London confirms the medical ones. The atlas was bound in a brown human cover with various motives: memory of a crime, rarity as a souvenir, scientific interest. Legally, it was in a gray area. Criminals' bodies were often sent to surgical schools, with remains then used for leather. These bindings are not put on display, but institutions also do not destroy them. They are considered historical artifacts showing how far people could go in the search for a unique addition. Oklo Nuclear Reactor, Gabon, 1970. A laboratory in France receives a shipment of uranium ore and notices something strange. The important uranium 235 isotope is depleted by half, as if the fuel has already been burned. The news spreads around the world with shocking information that an ancient nuclear power plant is hidden beneath the African jungle. Scientists rush to the site and drill dozens of wells. The picture that emerges is unexpected but earthly. 2 billion years ago, a rare combination of conditions occurred here: uranium-rich rock, pores between grains of sandstone, and groundwater that slowly flowed through the mass. The water slowed the neutrons and triggered the chain reaction until it boiled and stopped. After cooling, the layer refilled with water. Again, the reactor kept switching on and off for hundreds of thousands of years, leaving behind a distinctive set of rare isotopes. No man-made nuclear power plant, no intervention from visitors from space, just a lucky geochemical furnace assembled by nature itself. But the story of Oklo is still fascinating. It turns out that the planet can build nuclear reactors without engineers. All it needs is uranium, water, and time. The mystery in the jungles of Padre Amazon. Carlos Crespi Crozzi, an Italian missionary who devoted most of his life to service in Ecuador, became one of the most mysterious figures of the 20th century thanks to his unusual collection of artifacts. While working with the Shuar tribes in the jungles of Ecuador, he acquired many ancient items that, according to some researchers, could be evidence of the existence of an ancient, highly developed civilization, and possibly even contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Crespi's collection included strange metal plates with engraved symbols resembling ancient scripts, figurines depicting creatures with unusual features, and items that many described as technologically sophisticated. The metal reliefs were especially intriguing, depicting beings with elongated skulls, stars, and scenes reminiscent of space travel. Interestingly, nothing else was known about this region. They claim to have seen evidence of extraterrestrial influence in it. Some of the artifacts, according to witnesses, were made of metals that could not be identified. Crespi, however, was not seeking fame. He claimed that he received these items from local tribes in exchange for assistance and food. The connection of the collections with extraterrestrial civilizations becomes even more apparent when considering the mystery of the tunnels beneath Ecuador, which are the subject of legends. The tunnels, known as the TIOS system, are said to contain a library of metal books. Some theorists suggest that these tunnels were a base for an ancient race, possibly of extraterrestrial origin. The Crespi collection could have been part of these treasures. Unfortunately, after Padre Crespi's death in 1982, the collection was destroyed by fire or stolen, and its fate remains unclear. And what do you think? Could the missionary have become the keeper of traces of an ancient cosmic civilization hidden in the jungles of the Amazon? The lost text of the Bible. In Turkey, archaeologists found a unique 5th century amulet depicting King Solomon defeating the devil. An ancient Greek inscription is engraved on the 1,600-year-old bronze pendant. Our Lord has defeated the devil. This artifact may be connected to a lost text of the Bible that speaks of magical power. Sources claim that during the 1st to 5th centuries, there was a text called the Testament of Solomon, which was not included in the canon. In this text, the archangel Michael gives Solomon a magical ring that allows him to control demons. The discovered amulet confirms that Solomon was seen not only as a wise king, but also as a fighter against evil. The artifact was found among the ruins of an ancient military structure in Adrianople, modern-day Edirne. The amulet likely belonged to a soldier who believed in Solomon's magical protection during defense. The side of the pendant is engraved with the names of the archangels, Azrael, Israfil, Gabriel, and Michael. This symbolizes protection from evil, uniting the traditions of different religions. Azrael is known as the angel of death in Judaism and Islam, while Israfil is the herald of the end of the world, blowing the trumpet on Judgment Day. Gabriel and Michael are widely recognized in Christianity, the first as God's messenger, and the second as a spiritual warrior. All these names reinforce the protective meaning of the amulet. The amulet with Solomon is not just a historical artifact. It demonstrates how legends and religious traditions intertwine across different eras. The figure of Solomon unites the three world religions, remaining a symbol of wisdom and strength of an ancient city in Micronesia. This amazing complex was built on artificial islands connected by a network of canals, which is why it is often called the Venice of the Pacific Ocean. The complex includes about 100 artificial islets. The islands were created from massive basalt blocks, laid out in such a way as to form walls, platforms, and buildings. Each structure is surrounded by water canals, which makes this place even more mysterious and impressive. The age of Nan Madol is estimated to be about 1,500 years, but some studies suggest that the first structures may have appeared much earlier. Archaeologists believe that the construction of this complex began at the end of the first millennium AD, possibly under the leadership of local rulers from the Saudeleur dynasty, who used Nan Madol as a ceremonial and administrative center. The main mystery of Nan Madol lies in how the inhabitants of Pohnpei Island were able to build such a complex and massive city with limited technology and resources. Each basalt block used in the construction weighs from several hundred kilograms to several tons, and transporting and installing such heavy blocks would have required significant effort and expertise. Basalt was quarried on the other side of the island, which meant it had to be transported across difficult terrain and water. Considering that the ancient builders did not have modern machinery, this achievement seems almost impossible. Some researchers suggest that the stone blocks could have been transported using rafts and ropes, while others point to the possible use of a system of levers and ramps. However, none of these theories fully explains how the ancient Micronesians managed to lay and align these massive structures so precisely. Nan Madol is also surrounded by many legends and myths. Local residents believe that the city possesses magical properties and that it was built using supernatural powers. Some myths claim that Nan Madol was home to spirits and was used for rituals related to ancestor worship. To this day, this ancient city inspires awe and respect among the residents of Panapa, and they avoid visiting Nan Madol after sunset, believing it to be a place inhabited by spirits. Skeletons and jewelry. Imagine an altar in a Bavarian church where a skeleton lies in a glass sarcophagus, covered with gold, gems, lace, and even a wig. This is not an art installation, but a relic from the Baroque era. In the 17th and 18th centuries, ancient bones were taken en masse from the Roman catacombs and turned into shining patrons of cities in Germany and Switzerland. This was how the Catholic world responded to the Reformation, where many relics were lost. A strong visual gesture was needed to unite the community and bring back pilgrims, just as they used to do. Rome provided certificates verifying the bones' authenticity, confirming they came from the catacombs. The remains were often assigned new names like Valentine or Candide. On site, the bones were assembled into a complete figure. Missing parts were supplemented with wood and wax. Glass eyes were placed in the skull, and the whole was dressed in silks and lace, gold and gems, sewn by nuns, resulting in a radiant heavenly warrior in a gilded casket by the side altar. This worked on 3 levels at once. The city gained its own saint for faith, a patron for politics. The Electro-Reformation demonstrated the richness of the Catholic tradition. Without lengthy debates, economics, the church became a center of pilgrimage. But what about authenticity? Radiocarbon tests for some of these saints date them to the first 3rd centuries. So the bones themselves are indeed ancient. The martyr status is not always provable, and the jeweled casing is entirely the work of craftsmen. During the Enlightenment, many of the figures were put away in storage, but today they are gradually being restored and displayed as monuments of both faith and art. The conclusion is simple. What we have before us is neither a cheap fake nor a pure miracle, but a rare fusion of religious ideas, Baroque taste, and urban identity. What do we see in the altar display? A relic, a tool of its era, or a Baroque spectacle? It seems to be all of these at once because these skeletons still attract attention and questions to this day. A ring of a remarkable person. Assos is an ancient city with a rich history, founded in the 7th century before Christ. This ancient city is located in the southwest of the Belarusian peninsula. In Turkey, archaeologists found a Roman ring with an image of Athena, the revered goddess of Assos. The ring was found in a building known as the Xenodokion, which served as a hostel in ancient times. Assos, founded by Greek settlers from the island of Lesbos, has deep historical roots dating back to the Bronze Age. Athena, the daughter of Zeus and one of the main deities of Olympus, became the patron of the city. Assos was an important regional center and is mentioned in ancient texts alongside the cities of Asua and Pershi. Turkish archaeologists have supervised excavations in Assos for nearly 40 years. A ring with an image of Athena, discovered in the Xenodokion, probably belonged to a high-ranking resident of the city and was used as a seal, similar to modern signatures. According to our estimates, the artifact dates back to the 2nd-3rd centuries AD. In the 6th century before Christ, the city of Assos was under the rule of Lydia, then became part of the Persian Empire, and later joined the Athenian Confederation. The city once again came under Persian control until Alexander Makedonsky liberated it in 334 before Christ. Later, Assos became part of the Pergamon kingdom and then became part of the Roman Empire. Over time, the city lost its significance, passing under the rule of Byzantium, the Seljuks, the Franks, and the Ottomans until 1330. The Wolfsegg Iron Cube, Austria, 1985. A worker splits a piece of brown coal, and from the black lump rolls out a tiny iron cube with smooth edges and grooves, as if made by a lathe. The newspapers instantly dubbed the find a bolt from the Stone Age, since the coal was found in layers estimated to be over 20 million years old. The cube ended up in the Salzburg Museum, where it was discovered that it was not pure iron, but cast iron with a high carbon and slag content, a type of alloy typical for 19th century blast furnaces. On the edge, you can see a tiny tail, the spot where molten iron flowed out of the casting mold. Under a microscope, the surface is covered with porous chamber-like rust, just like blast furnace slag. A piece of waste apparently ended up in a coal cart and went down into the seam with it. And yet, looking at the almost perfect surfaces of the cube, visitors remark that the geometry is just too precise for a random fragment. What if it's a part of an unknown mechanism that nature hid deep within a layer of ice that's 1.2 million years old? In the laboratory of the Alfred Wegener Institute in Bremerhaven, Germany, scientists are cutting the oldest ice core on Earth. A cylinder with a diameter of 10 centimeters and a length of 2.8 kilometers, brought up from a depth of 3,200 meters. At the Concordia station in Antarctica, radioisotope dating indicates an age of more than 1.2 million years, which is twice as old as the previous record holder, EPICA, at 800,000 years. The air bubbles preserve the atmosphere of the past. Glaciologists want to understand why, millions of years ago, the rhythm of the glaciers changed. Instead of cycles, every 41,000 years, the Earth switched to a periodicity of about 100,000 years. Measuring carbon monoxide, 2-methane, and dust levels gives direct data on how greenhouse gases relate to temperature. And an unexpected bonus at the basal mark, the drill broke through a thin layer of ice and extracted a piece of granite. This is probably the upper edge of the Antarctic bedrock, and geologists will have a chance to date when the continent became covered with ice. The first results will be available in a year. This core will give scientists a long timeline from the past and make climate models more accurate when we talk about the rise of carbon monoxide too. Mystical figurines. These unusual figurines from the ancient Mexican city of Teotihuacan are rare examples of the art and worldview of Aztec culture, discovered in 1933 in the Metepec area by an American anthropologist. The figurines depict men and women with opening hollow torsos, inside of which are smaller figurines or objects, which has sparked much debate about their meaning and purpose. Such figurines are often called hosts because of their peculiar contents. The hollow in the chest area is symbolically closed with a door, which hints at the concealment of knowledge, a hidden meaning, or the concept of the inner self. Perhaps these figurines embody the philosophical concept of the Nawal, an inner spirit or companion that accompanied a person in their spiritual quests and on their life path. Other interpretations suggest a connection between the figurines and symbols of fertility, nurturing, or spiritual growth. Perhaps they personified the social or religious roles of a warrior, ruler, merchant or woman from the elite strata of Teotihuacan society. The fine detailing, as well as the ability to open and close the figurine, speaks to the high level of craftsmanship of their creators. This unique design may have symbolized the interaction between the inner and outer worlds, as well as the desire to reveal hidden truths about the nature of humans in the world. A 2,000-year-old fig. Irish archaeologists made an unexpected discovery when they found the charred remains of a 2,000-year-old fig at Drumana Promontory, north of Dublin. This find became important evidence that the Roman Empire, which was previously thought to have considered Ireland unreachable, still had an influence on its culture. Drumana Promontory was a key point of contact between Ireland and England, which was under Roman rule. Among the finds made by researchers from University College Dublin, figs turned out to be the most surprising. The fruit's seeds confirmed that they were brought to the island at a time when such exotic fruits were considered a rarity. Previously, figs had only been found in medieval layers in Ireland, but this specimen is the oldest known. In addition to figs, traces of emmer wheat were found, a cereal widely used in Roman Britain, but rare for Ireland. These findings show that the Romans not only traded goods, but also brought their way of life. Archaeologist Christian Baker said that people in Ireland at that time enjoyed emmer wheat bread, olive oil, wine, and also used glass and ceramic dishes, brooches, and beads. Figs, first cultivated in eastern Turkey and northern India, made their way to the Mediterranean via ancient trade routes, where they became an important part of the Roman diet. Researchers believe that figs and emmer wheat could have been brought through Roman Chester, a major trading hub in Britain's hide. In the storerooms of the British Museum, there was a palm-sized clay tablet from Babylon, dating to around 1500 before Christ, about the exorcism of a ghost. Only under certain lighting did the engraved image become visible, a ghost of a man with bound hands being led by a woman holding a rope. On the reverse side, there is a cuneiform text deciphered by the philologist Irving Finkel, a detailed guide on how to bind and then exorcise a restless spirit. The steps are as follows. 2 figurines are made from wax or clay, 1 male and 1 female. Vessels with beer, bread, and a wooden bowl are placed in front of the figurines. Incantations are recited, the spirit is offered the treats and asked to leave. After the ritual, the figurines are wrapped in cloth and buried at dawn, a signal that a new home has been found for the soul and it will not return to the living. The text uses the word mashki, meaning the watcher, to refer to a spirit that has not found peace. The tablet adds to our understanding of Babylonian medicine and magic. Treatment included both herbs and administrative actions with the world of the dead. The main value of the artifact is the combination of drawing and instructions, which is rare for Mesopotamia. This is a visual manual for a priest exorcist, showing that 3,500 years ago, people were already developing step-by-step protocols for dealing with what we would now call psychological trauma. The Shigir idol in Russia was discovered in 1890 when workers were extracting peat from the Shigir bog in the Urals, and instead of peat, they lifted a pine log on which zigzags, strokes, and 7 strange masks were looking in different directions. The first radiocarbon testing in the 1990s already gave a staggering age of 9,500 years, and after a repeated accelerator mass spectrometry analysis, in 2021, the age increased to 12,100 years. That's twice as old as Stonehenge and the pyramids. The rich Meteorite acid preserved the layer better than a sarcophagus. The wood even retained traces of flint tools that people in the Stone Age used to carve into living pine. Everyone interprets the pattern on the idol differently. Some say the horizontal notches divide the layer into 3 worlds, and the 7 faces are spirits guarding each level. Others read the zigzags as a timeline, showing the tribe's journey upward after the glacier melted. There's also a version that it's a star map. The pattern resembles the summer constellation above the Urals many thousands of years ago. But the main question is, why? Did they break the statue, drown it in the swamp, and press it down with stones? If it was just an ordinary totem, there would be no need to destroy it. Perhaps the ritual required killing the idol. To start a new cycle, scientists have so far only figured out the technique. They heated flint cutters in fire, burned the wood, and then scraped the lines until they were smooth. Today, X-rays can see hundreds of such marks under the dense crust of the swamp. But why all this was done remains a mystery. There are no settlements or other similar figures nearby. It's as if the creators hid the main masterpiece of their era, and only a solitary fragment of an unknown history has reached us. This discovery changed history. The Nebra sky disk, created 3,600 years ago, still remains one of the most mysterious archaeological discoveries, included in the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization Memory of the World Register. In 2013, this artifact impresses with its design and complex manufacturing technology. Recent studies conducted in Germany have shown that the disk was made using hot forging in 10 stages, with each stage involving heating the metal to 700 degrees and processing it to relieve stress. This data was obtained using modern methods such as X-ray spectroscopy and microstructural analysis. Attempts to reproduce the technology have shown that the ancient original methods surpassed modern processing techniques. The Nebra sky disk is not only a unique artifact, but also evidence of the advanced metallurgical knowledge of that time. Ruins of the oldest civilization underwater. In the early 2000s, a team of researchers working under the Canadian company Advanced Digital Communications made a sensational discovery. Off the coast of Cuba, at a depth of about 600 to 750 meters on the ocean floor, strange structures resembling stone buildings were discovered. These structures looked like organized rows of giant stone blocks, some of which had a regular rectangular shape and resembled massive walls or pyramid-like buildings. The initial results of underwater research carried out using modern sonar led to the hypothesis of the possible existence of a sunken city that could have been swallowed by the ocean tens of thousands of years ago. According to some estimates, the age of these ruins may exceed 50,000 years, which is significantly older than the earliest known civilizations, such as Sumer and ancient Egypt. This makes the possible discovery even more intriguing, as it suggests the existence of ancient and possibly highly developed cultures that science knows nothing about yet. Some scientists believe that these ruins may represent the remains of an ancient city built before the last marine period, when the sea level was significantly lower. There is a theory that this area could have been inhabited by ancient peoples who were later forced to leave their homes due to rising sea levels. This hypothesis is supported by proponents of the theory about the existence of ancient sunken continents, such as Atlantis, described in the works of Platon. Some geologists suggest that these formations may be the result of natural geological processes, such as erosion, earthquakes, and other movements of the Earth's crust. Further research and analysis of the underwater ruins off the coast of Cuba require significant resources and time. Let's hope that the authorities will find the means to study these ancient ruins. Nanospirals from the Naroda River. In the 1990s, while washing for gold on the Naroda River, gold prospectors began to find strange fragments, tiny metal spirals, 1-3 mm long and up to 0.1 m thick. Under a microscope, the coils were clearly visible, as if taken from a miniature bolt. Spectral analysis showed almost pure tungsten with traces of molybdenum. These are refractory metals that do not form such shapes in nature. The rocks where they were found belong to Pleistocene glacial deposits. If the layer is ancient, the spirals may have been there for thousands of years. They also started talking about nanotechnologies of a prehistoric civilization, saying that these are remnants of mechanisms, probes, or tools from an era we know nothing about. Later it was found that Soviet-era geological exploration in the river's upper reaches used tungsten teeth in drilling crowns. When worn out, they broke off, rolled down ravines, and landed in riverbeds. There, the current and sand polished them into neat spirals, and it wasn't the fragments themselves that were ancient, but the sedimentary layers they accidentally ended up in. Today, most scientists consider them to be man-made shavings, but the shape itself is too precise not to raise doubts. We can pretend that nothing happened, that these are just mistakes, coincidences, or tricks of nature. But if even some of these discoveries are real, it means our history is incomplete, and perhaps the most interesting part of it has yet to be written. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, everyone.